Christopher Boone is a boy with Asperger's syndrome who lives in the English town of Swindon with his father. Christopher's mother died of a heart attack 2 years earlier. At the beginning of the novel, Christopher discovers Wellington, the dog of his neighbor, Mrs. Shears, dead on her lawn with a garden fork stuck in its side. When police arrive on the scene, there is a misunderstanding between Christopher and the police officer that results in Christopher having to go to the police station and be rescued by his father. Then, Christopher decides to solve the mystery of who killed Wellington. This is done against Christopher's father's wishes for him to stay out of other people's business. Christopher's teacher, Shaban, encourages Christopher to write about this mystery for an assignment at school. While investigating Wellington's demise, Christopher finds out from Mrs. Alexander, a neighbor, that his mother Judy had an affair with Mrs. Shears' former husband. Christopher's father grows very angry when he discovers the book in which Christopher has been writing about the mystery. This leads to a fight between Christopher and his father, and to Christopher's father throwing out the book. Later, Christopher's father apologizes to his son and takes him to the zoo. During and after this excursion, Christopher's father is sure to assert that he loves Christopher very much. While searching for his book in his father's bedroom, Christopher finds letters from his mother that his father has been keeping from him. Christopher reads several of the letters and realizes that his mother isn't dead, and she has been living in London with Mrs. Shears' ex-husband. It is revealed that she had run away with Mr. Shears 2 years ago because she did not know how to cope with raising Christopher. Christopher blacks out after becoming overcome with confusion, and Christopher's father discovers him lying in his bedroom in a terrible state and helps him regain some of his composure and bathes him. Ed apologizes to Christopher for lying to him about his mother. He then tells Christopher that he was the one who killed Wellington. He goes on to explain that he did so in a fit of frustrated rage against Mrs. Shears that stemmed from her rejecting a possible romantic relationship between the two. Christopher becomes frightened by this news as he believes his father's ability to kill Wellington means the possibility of being murdered himself. Christopher hides behind the shed that night and eventually decides to go to London to live with his mother. Christopher eventually manages to get to the train station and takes the train to London, with a few brief interferences because of suspicious police officers. During the journey, Christopher is overwhelmed by traveling the rail system. This leads to him staying in one spot for hours, and a near-death experience when his pet rat winds up on the train tracks. Eventually, Christopher arrives in London, and his mother is surprised when she sees Christopher waiting at her door. Christopher stays with his mother, but his presence strains her relationship with her lover, Mr. Shears. Christopher's unpredictable behavior, such as wandering around outside at night, takes its toll on his mother's new relationship, and she eventually decides to leave Mr. Shears and return with Christopher to Swindon. When Christopher arrives back in Swindon, he is able to take his A-level math exam, which is very important to Christopher throughout the novel. In fact, he has an emotional breakdown when his mother tells him he will probably miss them because he is in London. Christopher and his mother find a new place to live in Swindon, and Christopher sees his father on a part-time basis, such as after school. His father gives him a gift as part of a project to regain his trust. The gift is a golden retriever puppy that Christopher names Sandy. At the end of the novel, Christopher finds out he earned an A grade on his A-level math exam, and he decides to take more A-level tests in preparation for college. Christopher believes he can become a scientist, or do anything else he wishes, because of his accomplishments throughout the novel.